Well, it's another late night, I don't know, probably 2 o'clock in the morning, and in my previous video I replaced this item here on the side of the radiator because the little rubber flap was gone, and I made this thing to keep the air flowing through the radiator and to keep our temperatures down. So I thought that was a good idea, and I remember when I put it in there, I remember there was a little gap here. So I made a mental note sometime later to come back with some silicone and fill that little hole up to keep any air from being sucked through that and not coming through the radiator where it should go. And lo and behold, while I'm under here doing that, I look around and look what I get to see. Yep, great big old drip. And I follow it around and I discover my water pump's leaking. So it's that big old red drip there. So now I get to change the water pump. So that's going to be a new little project. It never ends with these RVs. It just never ends. So, but I guess I'm thankful I found it here in my driveway and not on Interstate 75. So that's going to be my next little project. I got to get this off and get the casting numbers. Got to make sure I get the right ones. There's some debate. I guess there's maybe 2 or 3 different versions of water pumps, heavy duty and medium duties and all that good stuff. So I want to make sure I get the right one. They're priced anywhere from about $75 up to $300 or $400, I believe. So make sure we get the correct monster and get all this changed out and catch all the antifreeze. Just put all this fresh antifreeze in there last year, so try to find me a nice clean container to catch it all and put it back in. So I guess I will get started. This project is getting started. First of all, I'm trying to get this belt loose so I get the casting numbers off the pump. And I'll show you this little tip because I've done this before. And your tools, of course, to get this belt loose, it just takes a standard 3/8 drive ratchet and you stick it up. You got a square hole there on the belt tensioner. You stick that right in there. But once you do, boy, you don't have no room to get a hold of it and get no leverage to bend it down and release the belt. That's where a piece of pipe like this comes in handy. This piece of pipe came from a little hydraulic jack I had laying around, but it works perfectly, but any little piece of pipe will do. But anyways, by sliding this pipe over here, now you can get back here past the pulley and easily pull down on it, and then that gets the belt nice and loose. And I'm trying to do this with one hand. There it goes. Alright. And now the belt is off. So even one-handed you can do it with that little piece of pipe. Makes all the difference. So anyway, that's step 1 out of 100 probably. Oh yeah. Be sure you have a drawing like this. See that drawing? If you don't have that drawing, draw it out before you take that belt loose. Because it's a heck of a jigsaw puzzle trying to figure out how to thread that belt back on there. If you just pop it loose and don't think about how it runs between which way and what pulley and all that crazy stuff. So I printed this out of my repair manual and taped it to the bottom so it's always here, handy, and ready for me. Okay, step 1, remove the cowling. Just had 2 bolts on that side, 2 bolts on the other side. Push out the little clips, tilt it out. You got these hoses you got to move over just a little bit, and that comes out pretty easy. But I noticed something. This is different. Let's listen to this sound if you can hear it. Let's see, we'll go the other way. You ever heard a water pump do that? Of course, that's normal rotation. It don't make that sound. So I don't know if it's the seal, the bearing, or something. I mean, it feels just got a little bit of play, but it's enough to start leaking. So we'll finish getting this apart. One thing, luckily, I already have, and this is real handy. You can see this in my other video where I changed out one of these fan clutches on a friend of mine's RV. Where's it at? Where's this kit? This thing right here. You can see this device here. This really helps getting that fan off. There's the part number. I think I got this at AutoZone or somewhere. It's about 20-something bucks. But those tools come in handy because with this freewheels, you take the larger of the 2 wrenches, you get it over the 4 bolts, and then you got that smaller piece down here. with my finger there, and you get a hold of it and to unscrew it. So it takes a little bit of patience and time, because you want to be careful and not damage your radiator when that fan, everything comes loose. Once I get that off, it shouldn't be too bad, but then again, it's been a long time since these bolts, any of this stuff has been off since it's been new, I guess. So hopefully all the bolts will come out okay and not get too much antifreeze on me. So we'll get on with it. Come to my first snag. It's always something. So anyway, remember these tools I showed you how great they was about taking these clutches off? Well, evidently this one's not so great. The one that's larger, you know, it's designed to get up underneath these bolts here to hold the clutch still. Now, this is not my clutch. This is an old clutch off a friend of mine's RV that I changed for him last year. But, of course, mine is still on the RV. I haven't got it off yet because I'm having issues. The issue is, when I'm up under there, I got my big wrench on here holding this still. But when I try to use this wrench to unscrew this, this wrench the jaws have opened up already. So it's kind of thin. You know, it's got to be somewhat thin, I guess, to get up in there. But it's just a little bit too thin because now the jaws have opened up. When I try to break it free, it just rolls around. The jaws are opening up on it. So this thing is shot. So I guess it's like a one-time use deal. I used it last year when I got this one off from my buddy, and it worked fine then. But it's not getting mine off. So, and you can see on this wrench, it tells you right here, it is 1 inch and 7/16 and or 36 millimeter. Well, I dug around. I do not have 1 inch and 7/16 wrench. I did come across the wrench I don't think I've ever used is a 1 inch and 5/16. Of course, that ain't going to fit, but I took it to my grinder. You can see where I ground on the metal there, and I opened it up. So now it is now 1 inch and 7/16 wrench. So now I can get a good hold of this. And I'm going to get back under the RV, and hopefully I can break that dude loose and start making some progress and get that pump removed. So, yeah, that's how that goes. So we'll see how that lucky day, it came loose. I was going to try to show you here, if you can see what I'm doing, upside down all around. Okay, there's my fan clutch. It's hard to see. Okay, you see that this is the great big wrench up in here. I want to get that fan clutch off. I'll get a better picture of it. But anyway, it did work, but just barely. When I took this big wrench here, I was able to get up in there. Now that I ground it to 7/16, I was able to get it on that large nut up in there and break it free. Now you can see here, I rigged up this chain to hold this steel, because you really got to put a lot of torque on it. So I got this chain hooked into this, so when I lay down on it, it only goes so far and stops, and I hooked it up over here on the frame. So got that free, so now I can unscrew the fan. When I get the fan unscrewed, then I'll show you more about how I got that wrench on there. Okay, the fan clutch is removed. Now that the fan and clutch is off, you can see how I put that wrench on there. I loosened up those 4 10mm bolts about 1/4 inch, so I can slip the wrench over it and then snug them back down. So that way the wrench is not going anywhere. And then you can get your 1 inch and 7/16 wrench on there and really torque down and unscrew that fan. I'm going to show you one more thing here. Once you get that fan off, check this thing should be, when it's cold especially, it should be kind of difficult to turn. It's really difficult to turn. That means your clutch is good. I believe these are called a viscous clutch. It's got like the type of fluid in there, and then when it starts up, it kind of freewheels. But as it gets hotter and hotter, it gets tighter and tighter, and you know, like when you get like 205 degrees, I believe, is when they lock up. They really spin fast. I got a separate video on how to change these out, and I give an example of a good one and a bad one, how they freewheel real easy versus one that's new. You spin the blade, they barely turn at all. But anyway, got that part off, so now we just gotta see about getting the water pump free and try not to get a face full of antifreeze. And so we'll just keep moving. Pump is out on the bench. One thing I can say, when you take this out, be careful, because man, that dude is heavy. It's got some weight to it. You want to be careful when you take your bolts loose, so as you're coming down, you don't let it get away from you. You knock a hole in your radiator or bend up your fins. Because once I got it down on the bench, this pulley, it was on there pretty snug. So luckily I had me a 1/4 by 20 tap. And so 1/4, 20 threads, 20 threads per inch. So, because they got holes here in the pulley, of course they're not tapped, of course. That'd be too easy. So I tapped it, and I got my little cheap Harbor Freight puller kit here, and it just came right off just effortlessly. And you could probably get it off with a block of wood and a hammer, but I didn't want to beat and bang on that thing. Take a chance on warping anything. Don't want to do that. Now that I've got it off, because this hose is such a pain to get to, I'm going to get me a replacement hose. You know, this has been around since 2005, so that would be just a real pain for it to spring a leak on the engine on a trip somewhere. So get one of those ordered, and next step I'm gonna take this thing apart. I got to see what it looks like inside. Okay, took this apart. Reason I did, I've read on the internet about heavy duty, light duty, I don't know, extreme duty, different versions of these water pumps. So I was trying to figure out for sure what we got, and talked about the different amount of vanes in it. So this is a factory, came out of a 2005 8.1 Vortec and Winnebago motorhome. So this is the brand new factory pump that came with it, and it has 8. And there's a casting number on here also. Let me turn this thing around and show you what that is. Okay, so here's my casting number. So 125-58870. And I remember you Google that and it brings this pump up, and it talks about an AC Delco. I ordered an AC Delco. It's supposed to be a replacement for this, but when I get it in, it's supposed to be here Saturday. So when it gets here, I'm going to take it apart and check the vanes on it, out on it, to see if it's really the same. And I'll put that on video also, just to make sure, try to get some clarity on the subject. Okay, I'm back under here, and it is, what is it, 3? I think it's 3:20 in the morning. Nice and cool to be working on an RV. And quiet too. Phone's not ringing. No one's cutting grass. So, nice and quiet. But my pump's going to be here tomorrow. So I thought, well, let me do a little investigative work, try to just make sure everything's going to go smooth tomorrow. I don't like surprises. I've had enough surprises this week. So I went ahead and cleaned up my bolts, threaded them in. There's both the bolts going in there. And while I was under here, I just thought I'd check my bearings on a few things while I got the belt off, and I see, like, there's my compressor, which actually I changed it last year, put the compressor in. It's only about a year old, so I expect it to be in good shape. Okay, but I did notice this. Okay, what we got here? This is the idler arm that is spring loaded, keeps your belt tight. See, nice and smooth and quiet. But this one up here, not so much. Makes a little noise, don't turn very free. This one's nice. So I'm going to change it out too. And by the way, you don't have to buy a whole pulley, you can just buy the bearing. The bearing, and I'll try to get it on the video here. The bearing that goes in is usually a very common bearing that's used in electric motors, even on lawnmowers. I got a lawnmower shop, so we keep these bearings in stock. And I actually keep them with me in the RV, just in case I have one crap out on me. I can take a socket and a hammer and knock out the old bearing and drive a new one in and keep heading down the road, hopefully. Oh yeah, and check the alternator while you're up here. Make sure she's nice and quiet. It seems to be in good shape. So, all that stuff. And it's nice, it is cozy, I tell you. I got my legs kind of slid up underneath the axle so I can get my head up in here and look around. See, the radiator's mighty close. So, not a fun job for a big fella, but it's working out okay for me. Alright, so let's get on to taking that pulley off and see what I find. I got it off easy enough, and good thing I checked it, because she's about to go out. You can see the grease starting to come out from around the bearing, and when I spin it, I can feel it's very tight and rough feeling. I mean, it didn't feel, of course you can't feel it when just spinning it, but I noticed it didn't spin freely. But it doesn't feel like it would make it much longer. And There's some numbers right on that bearing that you can just Google and pick up about anywhere. So instead of buying this whole thing, I'll just find me a socket the right size and drive this one out, and then drive a new one back in, or press it in, probably press it in with a vise. You can just remember to go on the outside race. Don't be beating on the inner race. You'll beat flat spots on the balls in the bearing, and just shorten the life of it. So I shall get me a bearing and get that replaced, and so hopefully avoid any future on the road trouble. And keep in mind, if you haven't changed your bearings on your idler pulleys, this motorhome's 2005 with about around 45,000 miles on it, the 8.1 Vortec, and these are the shape of this bearing. I think I've already changed the idler arm bearing a couple of years ago, so it's time for this one to go. Anyway, we'll get that done. Another tidbit of information while I'm under here, and I'm at the right angle where you can see it. Whenever you're under your motorhome, check for these rubber flaps. I've heard and seen these things get out and get gone sometimes, and these, seal the plastic cowling to the radiator, so that as you're going down the road, it's forcing all the air that the fan is pulls it through the radiator. If these things get out and gone, the air that's being drawn through here, through this gap, that would leave you a good inch gap all the way up through there. That's air that's not being drawn through the radiator to help cool your engine. So something to check on if you have any cooling issues. Make sure all that's in there. And so, in fact, I'm gonna go a step further. Seeing all this is open, I'm gonna take me a little silicone sealer and seal up all those bolt holes up through there. I see, and help the air a little bit. Keep the air flowing through the radiator like it's supposed to. So keep our temps down. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Okay, I'm out here in my little spare parts goodie box, and let me see here what I was going to talk about. Okay, well, here's the pulley. I got it out, and it is, it feels rough, needs to be replaced. And so I've been carrying this bearing around here for a couple of years, because I found out a few years ago this is just a standard bearing used in electric motors, lawnmowers. Very common in lawnmowers. In fact, I know that because I got a lawnmower shop. In fact, for a little plug, if you go to our website, we have a lawnmower website, it's called mymowerparts.com. mymowerparts.com. And if you type in this part number, it's 8507. That'll pull up, and I know they're probably $4 or $5 a piece. But if you buy these pulleys here, gosh, I think they're like $40 or something like on Amazon. They're quite expensive. So I always keep a couple of these with me at all times, because if you have something like that crap out on you for a couple bucks, you got a spare and you're ready to go. So I've got this, so I'm going to go down to my garage, I'll press this bearing out, press this in, and I'll be ready for tomorrow. And in fact, I forgot I even got this spare one here. I got this off another car somewhere. I changed out for somebody, did some kind of job on a car, and I seen it was identical to what's on our 8.1. So I kept that. And what else have I got in here that might be of interest? I keep in stock with me a couple relays. Here's a common relay. If you look on the front of your RV, you'll notice you've got a whole bunch of relays, and 4 or 5 of the same one. And actually, this is for my ABS. I got it labeled. And then there's another relay that can really give you fits. I think it's this one here. Yeah. Is the start relay. This kind of surprised me one time. I went to start the vehicle, would not start, and it turns out, unlike most old stuff I'm used to, when you turn the key, you assume 12 volts goes down to the solenoid and energizes the starter. Well, not so. The way our system works, the way I figured it out, is the relay actually grounds the solenoid, then it starts the starter. So this goofy little solenoid up on the firewall can go bad or not make contact, and you turn the key and nothing happens. You call a tow truck and all that bad stuff, all because of that goofy relay. In fact, while I'm talking about this, I'll show you its location. That might help some people out. Let's talk about, okay, this is my air conditioner bypass. Now, I've read this on the forum. There's been just some discrepancy about what belt to use, what pulley to use. And so with our system, if the bearing locks up in our air compressor, or air conditioning compressor, I should say, if our bearing locks up in our air conditioning compressor, we lose our belt, we lose everything, we can't drive, we can't do anything. We're stuck until we locate another compressor, and that's not going to be a lot of fun on the side of the road. But if that happens to you, for I think it's 30 bucks. Now, and I verified this because I personally put this on. On the forums, it talked about a different pulley to use, and I bought the pulley that was on the forum. But that pulley was too small. It was, when I put it on as a test, it would rub a bolt. But this I've actually installed, started up the engine, and everything did work just fine. So if you want to do your air conditioner bypass, for if you do a lot of driving on the road, you want to just be ready for the unexpected, and you're mechanically inclined anyway. So here's the pulley number 89009. Yep. And then we got this belt here, 5060955 DR, and that will get you fixed up. You'll be ready. But I read there's another somewhere on one of the forums that shows a pulley, but it's too small. Put it on there, and you'll have issues. It'll rub a bolt. So, oh yeah, I was going to talk about this relay. If you have a no start condition, let me show that to you. Oh goodness. Okay, here it is. It's a little bright. Okay, there we go. This relay right here, that's your ignition. So if you happen to turn the key and nothing happens, you just don't start. And you notice the numbers are on these, they're all the same. So in the pinch, if you had a no start condition, you could always swap out the ABS relay or the ignition relay as a test to get you started and get you going. But if you turn the key all the way over, all the lights working, nothing happens, just the starter don't turn, you think you got a bad starter, check that first. And here's like the relay for the auto brake, ABS, and I think inside the box it tells you what the other ones are. But it didn't seem like it didn't tell me what these were on top. And I've already changed this one out too at some point in time. There we go. And I wrote the part numbers on there so I know what I need in the future if I do. Alright, hopefully that'll help. Came back down in the garage, and here's my bad bearing I'm fixing to press out. And I got to digging around. Drop that thing. I found the perfect socket to press that out. It happens to be a 1 1/8. So that might be kind of hard to find, but I had it luckily. So I'll just try this one-handedly. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Let's try here. Okay, there we got it. Oh, well, be sure to check, because it's perfectly flush with the back piece. So you want to note that before anytime you go pressing your bearing out, so when you press a new one, you get it right in the same position. So your belt tracks properly. In fact, you can see where the belt's been tracking, and if you press the bearing in wrong, this pulley's going to be running slightly off. So make a mental note of that. So yeah, it just pushes out real easy, no problem. So that's how you do that. I'm going to have to press it just a little bit more, but you get the idea. See, it's almost out. A couple more taps, should be ready to go. Okay, old bearing here, she's out. Got the new bearing ready to press in. Got the socket in place, and just turn the vise and just press it in nice and slow. That's better than taking a hammer and beating and banging on it and risk damaging the balls that are in the bearing. So you get the idea of how to do that. So you can save yourself some money instead of spending 30-40 bucks for a whole pulley. Just buy you a $5 bearing and fix it yourself. Good morning, rise and shine. The water pump is here, but I want to get some clarity while I had this here. I've read on the RV forums talk about heavy duty pumps and different. Some are 50 bucks, 400 bucks, all these different prices, and talk about heavy duty, light duty, the number of vanes that it has or on the impeller. So this is the original LMI 2005 Winnebago Voyage 8.1 Vortec. It has 8 vanes on it. That's the original, and the casting number on this one, because it's upside down. Okay, there it is. So 12558870. All right. Now this, I just got this in. See, there's my box, AC Delco, and this is a 252-783. It also has 8 vanes. It's the same, and everything about it seems to be identical. Turn it around here. So there's an AC Delco, and I think this is like 112 with Amazon Prime. And I did see some on eBay for, you know, 50, 60 bucks, but I don't know what the heck they're made out of, or the bearings or anything else like that. But everything I can tell about it seems to be good quality, same number of vanes. So I'll put this on this evening and see if we can't get this back on the road. Head out west. Let's talk a little bit about craftsmanship these days. All right, here's the factory pump, and here's the pulley. When I put it on, I mean, it's actually a snug, tight fit onto the flange here. No wiggle whatsoever. Actually, you know, you have to kind of tap it on there to get it all the way down. Okay, but now you take the brand new AC Delco. You can see right there, AC Delco. You'd think, well, that's the best of the best. Put it on here, and look what I got. Take my feeler gauge, and I got 7 thousandths gap. There we go. I got a 7 thousandths gap sitting there, which that means my pulley could be running out of true 7 thousandths, just depending on how it got bolted up. Because here's the bolts to hold it on. There's no way they're going to self-center it. It should be a snug fit right there, so it's running true. So now I need to come up with a solution, because if I order another, it's probably going to be just the same way. And I need to get on the road. So it's time to think. Okay, I'm done thinking now. I think I come up with a solution. Because before I had 7 thousandths gap, and so I got my micrometers out, and I came across some foil tape, and each piece measures 3.5 thousandths. So I put me 2 layers on here carefully, just around the lip here, on the new pump. So that filled the void, and dropped the phone. Okay, didn't break nothing, thank goodness. Anyway, that filled the void, and now it's good and tight, not moving at all. So now I know the pulley is centered, and I'm going to go ahead and torque these bolts down good and snug. Well, I know it's centered, so I should be in good shape now. I know my pulley will be running true, and hopefully not have no vibration issues. So anyway, that problem is hopefully solved. So we talking about torque. I just now torqued these bolts here. These are 19 foot-pounds on your fan pulley bolts. And then when you go to your water pump bolts, you do those in 2 passes. First pass, take it to 19 foot-pounds, then you take it up to 37 foot-pounds. And I had this handy-dandy strap here to hold this pulley still while I put the torque on it, so that came in handy. This is actually what we use on lawnmower repair, working on lawnmowers, holds the flywheel still. Very handy. So you may have to improvise some way. But anyway, now it's time to start getting under the RV. Okay, almost ready to install. I'll show you something I always do to make sure I don't get a false torque. See how I've ran the bolt, and I've got, about a 1/4 inch of thread showing. And same way on this side here. I ran the bolts all the way in until they get tight. So I know, okay, that's where they bottom out at. Because dealing with water pump, you're dealing with rusty bolts and that kind of stuff. If your threads get gummed up and you go to put something back on, you may think you're torqued up when in fact you're not. The threads are just bottomed out, and the bolt is not really compressing the pump to the engine. So I better give you an idea back down here. Where'd my bolt go? Okay, so now I've got about a 1/4 of an inch or so. So time I add my gasket, you see when I lay my bolt alongside the pump, it's kind of close, but I still got about a 1/2 inch of threads. But now if I laid the bolt on here, and say for instance it was going after it went through, and it was going to be like this, then I'd know, hey, I'm going to bottom out before I actually compress the pump, before I compress the gasket. So that way I know I get a true torque, well, more or less like if you was tightening up, you know, if your thread's bottomed out before you was actually compressing the water pump. So that's just a little double check I like to do, just to make sure things go well. So, and I got my new hose on there, and that's a tight spot too, getting this clamp on. That's a booger. Once you get up in here, there's where it goes, and you gotta wiggle your head up between the radiator and that, and twist and squeeze between the, well, that ain't much space, it is pretty tight. So, time to be an acrobat, see if I can't get this in. Pump is installed, and I just wanted to follow up, so the pulley's running nice and true. Hold the phone still, spin it, I don't seem to have any run out whatsoever. So, shouldn't have any vibration troubles. There's that full tape I put on there to get everything centered. And I thought this would probably be a good time to put the belt on before I put the fan on. That would probably make things go a little bit easier. So, let's do that next. Oh, and remember, no, it's not here. My cow's going to show you my cowling with my schematic on it, but that's outside still. So let's get to putting it on. Okay, the water pump is on. I don't have the fan on yet. I'm just letting everything get warmed up to temperatures. I'm watching my temperature gauge. Make sure there's no leaks. Belt's running nice and true. Pulley doesn't seem to have any wobble. So I'm going to let it get up to temperature and watch it. Make sure there's no leaks before I put the fan on. And we'll be able to call this complete pretty soon. Alright, sorry about the banging and bonging, my jacks are down. You see we're at 190 degrees, closed loop, 91 degrees outside temperature, nice warm day. And listen how quiet the engine is without that big fan on there. Rev it up. That was 2,000 RPMs, nice and quiet. And we're now at 193. I've got a 180 degree thermostat, so I know the stat's open, and so the water should be, antifreeze should be circulating fully through everything. And that way I can be assured I don't have no leaks before I button it up. Now, something else I just got done doing is cleaning up the fan. I figured that's a good idea, because it had all kinds of dirt and packed around here and down around the fins. So I took a hose and sprayed it off real good, because it's not very often you get a chance to do that. So I got all that shined up before I put it on. Okay, putting the final torque on this dude, just show you how I did it. Got me a chain hooked here to my wrench, holding the large fan nut. And I got the chain running over the side of the frame, and come over here and hook it right there. So that keeps it from moving. Then I got that big, giant, goofy wrench that come in that kit, fan clutch kit. So then I can really push on it really hard, get it good and tight. There. So the chain slipped a little bit, but it's good and tight, so I don't have to worry about that fan coming off. So that's my trick for doing that. Now I gotta get the wrench out. But I will. I've got the wrench out, no big deal. And here's a tip on getting this lower cowling out. Just bring it in here like this, up over those hydraulic hoses, and once you get it in there, then just rotate. It'll go right up in there real easy. So, but if you just try pulling straight down, try to rotate, she won't come out, but it works pretty good that way. Okay, everything's together, buttoned up. I've re-tightened, I've started it, let it warm up, and I've re-tightened my hose clamps. Everything seems good. There you see the fan. See how hard it is to turn. That's what you want. If you reach up there and spin your fan and it kind of freewheels, then you got a fan that's about to go out, and you have an overheating engine. Last thing I wanted to show. I seen this on one of the RV forums years ago. Get my camera in the right spot where you can see it. Okay. I've seen this a couple times on a couple W24s that I've worked on. This is your power steering line. Well, it lays right against one of your lines going to your auto brake. And with enough vibration over the years, it eventually will wear a hole in it. And if you wear a hole in your auto brake line, then you will come to a screeching halt. And you're not going anywhere until you get that line replaced, so that you can pump up enough pressure to release your auto brake. So while you're under there, take a peek at that. I just took me a piece of rubber hose and slid it, and then slide it up and over, so it keeps a cushion between that. And always get around and look under your RV. Be careful about it. I'm a skinny fella, so I can get under here pretty easy. but just crawl around, look at things, and that's how I caught this water pump about ready to fail, and by doing this, and I've caught several things that way over the past. So hopefully this will get it all wrapped up. I'll take it for a test drive and see. Okay, we went for about a 20-mile drive, came back, everything's looking good. Now there's a drip, that's just from the air conditioner, by the way. So everything, the cooling is fine, and I think this job is complete. Pack up my tools and put everything away. And for recap, let's see, we did a water pump and a water hose. The pump was $119, hose was about $19. Oh, and I have to I have to add a little antifreeze to it, so no more than $150 or so is all I was out money-wise, and just a few skint knuckles and a couple of days time off and on. Got it all wrapped up and done. So hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned something, and encourage you to change your own water pump and crawl around and keep an eye on your motorhome, because it's always something, isn't it? Just waiting for the next thing to break. But keep it rolling. Have a great day. See you later. Bye.